Hey guys, welcome to the Contradictor. Today we'll be doing the last Power 4 conference ranking predictions, the ACC. This conference revamped, adding SMU, Cal, and Stanford. Very interesting conference compared to what it was last year. Let's just dive right into it. The 17th team in this conference is a no-brainer. I'm sorry, Virginia, you're just horrible at football. I mean, I literally had to put no thought into this pick. I mean, if you look at their schedule, they're going to win one game. They're going 1-11. They're beating Richmond. They're losing every other game. Next team, this is where it gets a little tougher because the bottom five are pretty hard to pick. But we're going to go with Wake Forest. Team had a very disappointing year last year after being good for a decent amount of time. Their schedule is very difficult, however. Having to play Clemson, NC State, Ole Miss, and a lot of hard road games like at Carolina and at Miami. I think they have winnable games like UConn, Louisiana, and NC. They're going to go 3-0 and out of conference, but I think this is a 4-8 team. They beat Virginia, but that's it in conference play. All right, the 15th team, the Stanford Cardinal. The first new ACC team on this list. Now, I do like Stanford a decent amount. I really like their receiver, Eric A. Moore. They have questions everywhere else, though. They have Ashton Daniels like quarterback. He's a decent little guy to have on your roster. But besides him and, like I said, Eric A. Moore, who's one of the better receivers, I just don't. This team's not very good compared to all the talent on these other ACC teams. All right. 14th team will be the Pitt Panthers. Pitt was a very good team a couple years ago. Last year, horrible. Like, horrible. All right, so they got Kent State, West Virginia, and Youngstown State out of conference. I think they go 1-2, 2-1 there. And then they got Cincinnati. So they got 4 out of conference scheduled games. It's going to be a tough year for them, however. They got Carolina, Cal, Syracuse, SMU, Virginia, which is a win, Clemson. They have a bunch of tough road games, but not too many ranked teams. I think Pitt could go 5-7, maybe 6-6 if they play their cards right. They're not going to. Pitt's a good choking team. Okay, the next team. This is where it gets tough because there's a bunch of good teams here. I think every team left on this list will and is very capable of making a bowl game. But as much as I love this team and as much as I'm so happy for them last year, Syracuse Orange. Now, I still think Syracuse is going to make a bowl game. I think this is a 6-6 team. Their schedule is not the hardest. They got Ohio, Holy Cross, and at UNLV out of conference. In conference, not too many difficult games. At Pitt, maybe. It was a little road test. They also got UConn, not to mention out of conference. Yeah, this schedule is not that hard for them. Maybe even 7-5 for Syracuse. They're going to have some trouble with the road conference games, though. All right. Our next team is going to be a team that actually had a really good year last year. Really solid roster, but if it weren't for Miami forgetting how to play football, they probably wouldn't have had the season they did. Georgia Tech. Now, we all remember them winning that game against Miami on the Hail Mary because Miami forgot how to take a knee like it's the end of practice. But they do have to play Florida State week 1. Or even, I guess you could say week 0. They're not winning that game. Out of conference, they got VMI, Georgia State, Notre Dame, and then at Georgia. So, this is a tough schedule. They're losing Georgia, they're losing to Florida State. They're probably going to lose they're losing to Notre Dame. Probably going to lose one of the games to Miami and NC State, maybe both. They have a bunch of tough road games. I think Georgia Tech does go 6-6, but in a really brutal way. This team can even go 4-8 just by how bad their schedule is. All right, next team, SMU. Now, I know SMU is great. They're one of the best former Group of 5 schools that there is. I just don't think that they're ready for a full season of being in a Power 5 conference. Now, me personally, I think the SMU should have joined the Big 12. That'd be a better fit for them. But it is what it is. Let's look at their schedule. They start the year with 4 out-of-conference games against TCU, BYU, Houston Christian, at Nevada in week 0. They could go 3-1, 4-0, 2-2. I think they drop one of the two to TCU or BYU. They beat Houston Christian and Nevada. They're going to start 3-1. Then they got Florida State. But after that, their conference schedule is really easy. I think they go 7-5. But they're going to drop some conference road games like at Louisville and at Duke. Okay. Top 9. Number 9 team is going to be Boston College. This is a very, very good team. They have a great quarterback. I really like him, Thomas Castellanos. Very, very good runner. Solid passer, but their schedule is brutal. Out of conference, they got at Missouri, who is a top 11 team in the SEC. Michigan State, like I said, not the best Big Ten school, but they're still a Big Ten school. They got it at home at least, so that's good. Western Kentucky, who has Austin Reed and is one of the better Group of 5 schools. And then they open the year against at Florida State. That's a recipe for disaster. They're not winning that game. Now, this is a 6-6 team. They have some easy conference games like at Virginia, versus Pitt, and you can even say versus Syracuse. So they're going to win at least 3 conference games. I think this team can go anywhere from 4-8 to 7-5. Just depends if they pull off a couple upsets. All right, number 8 team is going to be the Cal Golden Bears. I really like this Cal team. I think they're very underrated. They have some very good talent on the roster, like their running back, Jaden Ott. Quarterback, I believe, will be Fernando Mendoza or Chandler Rogers from North Texas. There'll be a little battle there. Receivers, very solid. They did lose Jeremiah Hunter, though, in the transfer portal. That's a big loss, so it is a little bit of a struggle, but the receivers are still solid. Schedule-wise, at Auburn. They gave Auburn a good test last year when they came to Cal. I don't think they'd be an SEC school on the road. And then they got San Diego State and what FCS schools that? They got UC Davis. That's 2 wins right there. Then they have to go at Florida State versus Miami versus Oregon State as an out-of-conference game. And then this Cal team's 6-6 material, maybe 7-5, but they have to take care of their easy games in conference because they're going to lose a couple, like Miami and Florida State. All right, we got the top 7 teams left. I think any team from here on could win the whole conference. But number 8, will be the Duke Blue Devils. Coming off a very good 8-5 season, obviously upsetting Clemson in the first week. Out of conference, very easy. Middle Tennessee State, UConn, Northwestern, and Elon. I think they go 3-1 there. I don't think they beat Northwestern. Conference, they got Carolina, at Georgia Tech, at NC State, at Miami. Florida State's also going to get the best of them. Their conference schedule is not the easiest, so that's why they need to win all their games in out-of-conference. I think this is a 7-5 if they pull off an upset, an 8-4 team in the Duke Blue Devils. All right, the number 7 team is going to be the Virginia Tech Hokies. Their atmosphere at home is probably going to get them a couple of really tough home wins. Their schedule is not the most difficult out of conference. They got Marshall, Rutgers, who's tough, Old Dominion, at Vanderbilt. I think if they could get out of that stretch 4-0. But then they have at Miami, at Stanford, back-to-back. They do get Clemson at home. That's going to be an electric game. I think they could possibly pull out that upset. But this is an 8-4 Tech team. Their conference schedule, besides Clemson and Miami, not the hardest. Not the most difficult. All right. Number 6 team is going to be the Louisville Cardinal. Coming off a second-place finish last year. A lot of their roster is coming back. A lot of their big guys. Out of conference, they got at Notre Dame, which is a loss. Guaranteed. At Kentucky, which was a close game. And then they got Austin Peay and Jacksonville State. They could go 2-2. 3-1 in those games. In conference, they got at Virginia, SMU, Boston College, Clemson, Miami. I think they could split 4-4, 5-3 in their conference games. I think Louisville has a 7-5, maybe even a 9-3 season. That's their ceiling. All right, number 5 team. No Drake May, still a good team though. The North Carolina Tar Heels. This team is very disappointing. 6-1. Still had a good chance to make the playoffs. Lose to Virginia last year. Now they're out of conference, not very easy. Actually, at Minnesota, if they win that, they got James Madison, North Carolina Central, and Charlotte, Duke, Pitt, Georgia Tech, Virginia. This team also could start 8-0. I think they lose 3 of their last 4. I think they lose to Florida State, Boston College, and NC State. They did lose Drake May. Their roster is still very good. They got Max Johnson, the transfer from A&M. They still got Amari and Hampton at running back. You got J.J. Jones at receiver still. Still got your great tight end and Bryson Nesbitt. Still a very good team, but they're not as good as the 4 ahead of them. Number 4 team, the Miami Hurricanes. Miami is going to have a very good season. They're going to go 9-3. They're going to choke a couple of teams they should beat, but they're not going to beat them. I think Miami finishes the year like 19, 20, 21st range in the top 25 pool. Because out of conference, they got South Florida, Ball State, Florida A&M, all winnable games. And they got at Florida. I think they win that. I think they go 4-0. I think at home, they lose to Wake Forest in an upset. And they also lose to Duke. That's just how their schedule works. They're going to lose to Florida State as well. Those are the 3 losses they're going to have. Because Miami doesn't like to beat the teams that they should. Number 3 team, Clemson Tigers. Clemson's still a very talented team like always. Came off like a floor, like a really bad season for them last year. Being 4-4 at one point. Did finish the year pretty strong though, 4-0. But this team's still not the best in the conference. They got Barrett Carter to come back. He's a great linebacker, probably one of the better ones in the entire nation. They also have Cade Klubnik. Questions with him, but I think he'll be more consistent. But week 1, they got Georgia. They also got NC State at Florida State. Those are 3 losses right there. Clemson is a 9-3 material team. Maybe even an 8-4. They could go 10-2, but I think this team just misses out on the playoffs. Number 2 team, the NC State Wolfpack. Now, they did get Grayson McCall, one of the best transfer quarterbacks in the portal last year. Still have a lot of talent on our team. Easy schedule besides Tennessee and at Clemson. I think they dropped those 2. No, actually, I take that back. I think they beat Clemson. They're going to lose to at Carolina, North Carolina. NC State's a 10-2 team. Finished the year ranked 15th. They have a very talented roster. Grayson McCall at quarterback. You got a lot of good wide receivers. You got running back Jordan Waters from Duke. This team's really good. Kevin Conception's a great wide receiver. This team's just going to have a great year. And the last team, number 1, coming off a championship season last year, kind of a UCF feel, the Seminoles. They lost a lot of good players. Jordan Travis, Johnny Wilson, Keon Coleman, Jared Verse. This team still has a lot of talent with an easy schedule. They have some tests like at Notre Dame, at Miami, and versus Clemson. This is an 11-1 team. They win the conference. They get a top 4 seed in the playoffs. Their roster is very, very good. You're probably going to have DJ Ukulele as your starter, but you're going to have a really good freshman quarterback, Luke Cromanhook. Probably going to redshirt him, but he'll be a great backup if they don't. Running back room's very talented. You got Lawrence Toffoli, Roydell Williams, and Jalen Lucas. There's a big three-headed monster right there. At wide receiver, you got Kentron Poitcher, Destin Hill, Malik Benson. You got a lot of guys from the transfer portal. Tight end, probably going to be Luke Douglas. O-line still looking great. On defense, they still have Patrick Payton, a great defensive lineman. On DB, they still have Fentrell Cypress II. You got Devontae Brown, who's a great little slot option. Azari Thomas will be a good option. You got the best punter in college football, Alex Mastromano. This team's good. I think they're going to have them great season. They're going to be on a little revenge tour from last year. Florida State makes the playoffs. Easy. Not even close. Thanks for watching this video. The Power 4 Conferences series is done. We'll be going to the Group of 5. And we'll be doing a really quick video for Oregon State and Washington State. Until those videos, see you later.